Before we begin, thank you very much to Daniel H. for joining the Patreon campaign over at patreon.com/TJOmega. Even if it's just a little bit, I appreciate it because every little bit keeps the channel going a little bit longer. So whether it's a little or a lot, I appreciate each and every one of you for helping me and telling me you want me to continue, because I will continue as long as you want me to keep doing things like this. So today we're looking back at another weird Transformer line that may have gone by the wayside, just as a reminder of its existence, and that is going to be Alternity. This is a sequel series to Tech. If you're not familiar with what Alternity was, strap yourself in. Everything about this was weird. Everything about this line was so weird. Alright, so Tech does well enough that the designers actually managed to convince Takara to do a follow-up series with a different style and a different goal. So it's still licensed vehicles, so it's doing the same thing, and it does have like opening trunks, doors, interior, and all that. So it is doing the Tech thing, but now it's doing it at a 1/32nd scale instead of 1/24th. So now everything is a little bit smaller. It would be about what like a large size deluxe used to be around this time. So, and this was like 2009 when Alternity kicked off. So it gives you kind of a time frame of what I mean by like a large size deluxe, 6.5 inch, that kind of realm. So imagine that, like a Tech that was like shrunken down a little bit. These were also hyper stylized Transformers in a way that we'd never seen before. It was very much a far more complex anime aesthetic to the robot modes than we had previously seen. They weren't trying to be accurate to the original characters. They weren't trying to be G1. They weren't trying to be anything. They were trying to just be these super hyper detailed robots. And that's basically what we got. And, you know, it's not a bad aesthetic. In most cases, we'll get to that. So, to this point, this doesn't sound too crazy, other than looking at Tech sales and going, how did you convince Takara to do this again? But it's where we get into everything else. So, for those who are not aware, the whole story concept behind Alternity is that it takes place in the Tech universe, where the characters from that fiction, because yes, there is fiction to Tech in Japan, and we'll go over that someday, because frankly, I need to reread a lot of it to make sure I've got everything straight, because it's a lot to keep track of. There's some insanity going on in Tech. But the characters of Tech have now evolved into a higher state of being, which is funny to me. Transformers exists for, like, I don't know, is 4 million years between crashing on Earth and waking up, so you gotta assume millions of years before that. So I think you estimate Transformers can be around like 9 million years old, 14 million, something crazy like that. But it's just now. You know, we didn't evolve into a higher state of being until I turned into a Dodge, or like a Ford pickup truck, you know? It's okay, it's already weird. But, okay. They've ascended to a higher state of being. They are godlike beings now. They are the culmination of all of these different iterations of that person, all combined into one. So, like, Tech Optimus Prime, or more properly, Tech Convoy, is every single convoy ever amalgamated into one consciousness that can cross through dimensions and travel through different realities. It's high concept stuff. The storyline in Tech actually refers to oh god, what were they called? So the whole idea was that these godlike Alternity beings were too powerful to come down to the mortal world. So instead, like the toys we got were all based on like auto avatars that they assumed and placed in when they needed to intervene in the mortal coils. That's how they did it. And of all these higher dimensional beings, we find out that most of them are Autobot, which Megatron doesn't seem to appreciate. So they gain like a similar form of ability. But the real threat all of Alternity, aside from all of this insanity, was a being called Hytherion. And what is Hytherion? Okay, Hytherion is this. That's the Earth, by the way. So Hytherion is like, this is a little bit conflicting. So he's made of the same he's made of the same material that the Alternity characters are made out of, and is referred to as a being made of time itself. It is cross-dimensional, and it is a force of nature to devour universes that are either too chaotic or too corrupted, and it's essentially a force to stop that corruption from spreading to other realities. And the whole plot is Megatron is destined to lead this thing to Earth and devour it as well. It's a convoluted story, given the fact that it's actually pretty short. There's a lot of high concepts going on here. Much higher than just Megatron build a death ray this week. It's a weird one to look back on. So, the story basically ends with the Alternity giving up their their ascension states. They're giving up their enlightenment to return balance to the universe and basically reset things back to the Binaltech world. So basically, it never happened. Maybe for the best, because if this continued on, I don't know how anyone would follow it. And both I mean like keeping track of it and to outdo it later on. But I want to get all the storyline stuff out of the way just so you understand how insane this whole thing is, and then we can talk about the toys, because the toys are where it gets even weirder, believe it or not. So, the Alternity toy line, as most Transformer toy lines do, starts with a convoy that is an actual licensed vehicle. It is a Nissan GT-R, and Vinyltech designs were categorized by the color. They're using official colors for the vehicles, and it is very specific names of each of the color schemes. So the convoy is vibrant red, and the gray one is ultimate metal silver. This is how they designated different versions, is all these crazy color names. And they're fine. You can see, they look like Binaltech toys. Except, obviously they're all cars. They didn't feel a need to make Optimus Prime a truck this time, for instance. And I will go ahead and say, just like Binaltech, everything is a car. But they also just used major characters. So, well, I say that. Give it a minute. So, extending beyond that, we have our usual black convoy repaint. But this time it's just convoy in black. It's actually, the color scheme is called Super Black, excuse me. But it's the Nemesis colors. It's the Scourge, Black Convoy colors, whatever you want to call them. But he is an Autobot here. It's just another excuse to put that deco on another convoy toy. No surprise there. This continued on. So we have another repaint of this toy, this time as Diatlas in Flare Blue Pearl. No. I'm sorry. Aurora Flare Blue Pearl. Some car buff out there. Maybe you work at DuPont. I don't know. Tell me if these are actual paint names or if Binaltech literally just came up with the craziest names they could for the colors. Because I wouldn't put it past Binaltech to go that weird. Point being, it's another repaint of the Convoy mold, and we had another one right after that as Ultra Magnus, and this one was White Pearl. No. Excuse me. Brilliant White Pearl. It's not enough. It's not enough. We got to go that one step further, don't we? But you can see, like, this was a mold, this was a line that was very heavy on the repaints. This is just one mold I've shown you, and we've already seen this many. So, it's going to be weird when I tell you that in the entirety of Alternity, and even its follow-up line, Transformers GT, which we'll touch on at the end, there's only a grand total of 4 molds. If we exclude alternate heads, there's only 4 molds. All right, so you're gonna see how many toys were in this line by the end of this. So it's kind of insane. They got so many reuses out of so many of these. So if we move on, we'll actually get to mold number 2, which appropriately is Megatron. All right, so I had to look these up individually here. Nissan 370Z, or 370Z rather. And he is Blade Silver. All right, are you keeping track of like different ones? So we've got Ultimate Metal Silver and Blade Silver now. Keep track of these. There will be a test at the end of this. He's fine. I never got my hands on this particular one, but he looks okay. You know, and not too thrilling, but not too bad either. There's some vague samurai elements to him, which I think get highlighted more in other subsequent paint jobs on this one. This one is Premium Le Mans Blue. You know, if you're racing in Le Mans, in the Le Mans, you have to be in this, or you're not premium. Crazy. I don't get over this. I don't get over this. Like, I've never remember any other toy line that designates its different releases by the specific shades of color. It's not just blue. It's blue. Let's call it blue. Well, at least this one isn't just like one straight up color, but it is just another Megatron repaint, Diamond Black this time, which I didn't know. Well, scratch that. I do know there are such things as black diamonds. But here you can see a lot more of that samurai motif coming forward, especially in like the shoulder guards. You know, so now you get that aesthetic that they were going for. I'm not sure if it's quite appropriate for Megatron. It's not a bad look, but I don't think it's the best looking look either. So I'm a little bit split on that. We did get a Galvatron out of it. No new head. It's just a purple Megatron this time. This is galvanized purple. So maybe these are just Takara coming up with these names, but I could also believe that that's an actual name. That was actually no. We'll get to one name where it tells you that Takara is definitely just coming up with these on their own. But yeah, another one, and again, I think this fits the samurai motif better than the silver did. Mold number 3, and it's Starscream. We used to make a joke when Alternity came out. We used to make jokes, or not even Alternity. When Alternators came out, we used to make a joke about what they're going to do. Starscream as a car now. If every single character in this line's a car, they thought about it. I think. And they actually went through with it here. And here you can definitely see that, like, hyper anime style here. We've got elements that are similar to the original Starscream, but it's, you know, it's not even car doors. That's literally the top of the car spread out across his back. I don't even remember what happened to the car doors in this toy. I had this mold. I can remember not being thrilled with it. Overall, it's fine. It's just, it wasn't really that terribly exciting to me. The color scheme we're going with here, the color is white pearl, just plain old white pearl this time. And then we move on to Sky Warp, which is the one I had. And this is Witch Purple Pearl. And it's a brilliant shade of purple. I mean, it's really rich. Just a touch of red in it. It's a really pretty, like, wine purple color, you know, like wine color. It was a pretty toy to look at. Maybe I didn't like the function as much, but the toy's pretty. All right, so what can I say? And of course, we got Thundercracker as well. So they did complete at least the basic trio. No cone heads in this one. Sonic Blue this time. I think Sega's going to have some issue with that name, but they never did. They never heard anything from a lawyer on that one. And we move on to one of the. You can also see there's a semblance of a flight mode. You can see the tail, the tail on Thundercracker here. There's a little bit of a winglet that pops out, like he's trying to be Trax, but it's not quite working out. What is the car model? I didn't mention the car model on this one because it's a crazy car. It's a Mitsuoka Orochi. If you name it after a mythical Hydra, sure, I guess that's appropriate. And then there's the crazy one. So remember, Megatron was the one that got all the samurai, detailing all over his armor, but they decided to do Banzaitron out of the Starscream molds for some reason. So when I say that like only major characters got in this line, I give lie to that because Banzaitron made it in for some random reason. I have no idea how of all characters Banzaitron made it into the line. The name we're going with, Cristallo Black. Cristallo is the name of my next D&D character, by the way. And beyond that, we got one more mold, and it is the Bumblebee Mold. And I think this is where people kind of fell off from the whole Alternity line. Because the super anime robo look, that hyper detailed look that they had before, that looked really, really nice. Then we got into this Bumblebee. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good, does it? It's not even that it doesn't really look like... We're not even getting into, like, it doesn't really resemble Bumblebee that much. It's not his body style. It just looks bad, the car just looks loosely placed on his chest. You can't see his pelvis, so his hips look like really long and lanky. It looks incomplete, is what it looks like. And I think people were willing to go with this line until this mold came out, and then I just think this mold just kind of like flattened everyone's enthusiasm. Of course, that's just me. Yeah, this is like 2010 memories coming up, so I could be wrong, but this was it for me. This is where I decided that I was not going to follow this any longer than I had to. He is a Suzuki Swift Sport, by the way, done up in champion yellow. So at least he's a champion in this universe. The Cliff Jumper looked really nice in Supreme Red Pearl. It's a beautiful shade of metallic red. I wish it was on a better toy, but at least we get to see what it looks like. And then they did the Gold Bug because they had to do Gold Bug. Throttle Gold is the name of it. So, okay, yes, it's not real paint colors. It's just Takara having fun, I guess. That's pretty much the bulk of it. You've seen every toy line that came out for Alternity. 4 molds and a ton of repaints. If anyone wants to ever complain to me about a line having too many repaints, here we go. Look at Alternity. And we're not even done because they moved on. So when Alternity was done, they decided to take the Convoy mold and reuse it even more in order to create a brand new line called Transformers GT, where this one really doesn't have like a continuity place I'm aware of. It's just a bunch of racing-themed Transformer cars done with the Optimus Prime mold. Lots of racing decals, lots of sponsorship decals, and a little bit of remolding to make it look more like a race vehicle. And the one part I do like, all of these actually do have new heads. So at least you have that distinction between all of this. But again, it is that Optimus toy reiterated 4 more times, starting with another brand new Convoy that you see on screen right now. And then let's remold him into Megatron. Optimus and Megatron sharing a mold once again. I need to make one video just on how many times Optimus and Megatron shared a mold, because it happens a lot, believe it or not. And then we move into Starsaber, or Saber, more correctly. It's weird to see my favorite Autobot turned into a blue car. Not a Starsaber I've ever owned, by the way. I don't know. It didn't feel true to the character. But I guess GT was about, let's just cram in all these classic leaders, because the last one was Fortress Maximus as a car with a weird semblance of his sword. I want to point out is that Starsaber gets this gun, or if that is some kind of sword, it definitely does not look like a sword. But Starsaber, for all of his iconography, does not get like a proper sword that looks like his classic one. But we do get this, which I guess is supposed to be Fortress Maximus' sword. So yeah, 4 molds produced all of these toys. So I never want to hear anyone complain about how many times a Seeker mold is reused anymore. That Convoy mold was beaten to death. Keep in mind, like, this was just like a span of like 3 or 4 years that toy got reused that many times. And these were built as like high-end things. They had die-cast parts. They had licensed vehicles and like really heavy tooling and painting. They were not cheap figures. Like, these were like premium style figures. All wrapped up into one of the most chaotic and insane storylines I've ever heard in Transformers. So that is your brief look back at Alternity, this weird little period in high-end Transformers that I think goes forgotten a lot, unless it's just like a passing joke at how insane it actually was. So maybe you never heard of it, maybe I just reminded you of it. In either case, I hope you took something away from this, because that's what videos like this are for, to kind of remind you of where we were, so you can better compare it to where we are now. Thank you guys for watching. Please, on your way out, hit like and subscribe. Helps me out a lot. And if you do subscribe, thank you, and I will see you next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.